Welcome back to Sideline Talk podcast. Hope everyone has had a good weekend. Premier League football has returned. And we go again. Last week it was a full panel. This week, well, reality is here. But I am joined by the new pod host, Dale, who keeps consistency, what I like to see. Dale, how are we doing? You okay, mate?
Yeah, keeping consistency, unlike Liverpool.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Didn't start very well, was it? Wasn't a very consistent display from playing City to playing Fulham. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I say good stuff. Obviously, not good stuff for you, but it was a good start for Arsenal, which we are going to start on. Obviously, the Friday night opener. For me, Friday night openers, as I said, whoever watched the predictions from us, Friday night openers are never good for Arsenal. They're never good. The Leicester game, I remember years ago, it was 3-3, and then I think Lacazette nicked a late winner. That was a hard watch. And then there was obviously last season against Brentford. We needed to make amends for that, but we did. I want to get your thoughts first, actually, because obviously coming from an outsider, I want to see what you made of our performance and the result itself. And there's one guy I'm going to talk about later, which is Saliba. So I do want you to sort of give your impact on him as well, because I know we spoke about him last week when we were speaking of players to watch and players coming into Premier League. But yeah, what's your take on Arsenal's first game of the season?
Thought they looked solid, mate, to be honest with you. I think it was kind of expected. I think, obviously, you've done well in the transfer market, haven't you, this season? So Zinchenko slotted straight in, didn't he? Didn't look out of place at all, give you another outlet. I think, obviously, him and Tierney now, you're solid in the left-back area. I think he's definitely better going forward than he is defensively. They did sort of target him in the second half a little bit, some balls over the top, but they didn't really. They looked a bit off it, didn't they, Palace? I thought Arsenal looked sharp. Jesus was causing them all sorts of problems, especially in that opening sort of 15-20 minutes. I thought he looks like he's just slotted straight in. I think that's the thing with Arsenal now as well. The transfers, they're not transfers where you're saying, oh, it's going to take him 6 months or a couple of games or 3 or 4 games to get used to the system. They've just all come in and just gone bang, 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 and they all look solid. I think Gabriel looked good with Saliba. I think Ben White, he looked all right first half at right back, but I think second half he looked a bit uncomfortable with Zaha because he looked a bit like he didn't, obviously doesn't really know the position that well. So I think he needs to. I think once Tomiyasu's fit, he'll probably go back into playing as a centre back. But yeah, I think overall, I think you look good, mate. I think you're going to have a good season. I think everyone predicts that you're going to have a good season this season. I think Arteta's slowly but surely stamping his authority on the team now, and it's now his team, isn't it? It's now his team. You can't. There's none of this. It's not his team or his players that shouldn't be there. Deadwood. He's cleared a lot of that out. He's got the players in that he wanted now. So now there's not really any excuses. But first game of the season, 2-0 away at Palace, which is always a difficult place to go. I think all the Arsenal fans would have snapped your hand off for a 2-0 win on the opening day away at Palace.
100%. And like you said, Selhurst Park is not an easy place to go to. But for me, I think first half, like just giving my 2 pence, obviously, I think first half was brilliant. I think it was one of the best first half performances we've had, especially at an away ground. Being after what happened last year at Palace, obviously 3-0 defeat. It was another one of those situations where we just needed to make a statement. And I think that was a statement made. Like the first half was brilliant. Martinelli, he had a missed chance and then he made amends. He got the goal. Good little knock on from Zinchenko. I think standout was Saliba. I just thought we're going to touch on Man United in a little bit, but there's ways that Premier League debuts can go. One or the other. You're going to have a bit of a tits up or you're going to have a phenomenal game. And I thought he was just brilliant. I think he's had a great pre-season and I think this was the icing on the cake for him. He had a great first game into the Premier League. And he was up against, let's be honest, Palace haven't got a bad front three. When you look at Zaha and, Edouard as well, he Scottish League is different kettle of fish, but he's a handful.
He's physical, isn't he? That's the thing. I think that's the thing as well. I think he stood up to the physical challenge from Edouard. He stood up to Zaha, had him a couple of times where he got him sort of half one-on-one in the box, and he dealt with that pretty easily. He looked comfortable on the ball. He didn't look fazed by the atmosphere. I think it just goes to show that maybe you need to give Arteta a bit more praise, because they've obviously looked at it and thought he's not quite ready. You know, when they signed him, he was 18 or something at the time, and they shipped him out on loan for 2 seasons, and you can only see that now they're ready to put him in, and he looked good for the first game. It is only the first game, so you have to wait and see. But I'm sure he will make mistakes. He's a young player; they all make mistakes. But like you say, in terms of debuts going, it went pretty much as good as it could have gone for a centre half, couldn't it?
Yeah, and like, to be honest, I think I agree with the Ben White. I think with Ben White, first half he looked good, and then I feel like as soon as he got that yellow card, he was on edge a little bit. Wasn't he? Yeah, he was just on edge. I think he knew like he needed to play it safe because he's up against a one. I'm not saying that. Look, I've seen Arsenal fans want Zaha at Arsenal, and I'm thinking no. If we're going to sell Pepe, bring in Zaha, the ends don't justify the means. Like, you're kind of just giving away something to get the same thing back. I just feel like they're both missing something. And with Zaha, I feel like he is someone that if someone against him is on the yellow card, he knows what to do. And I feel like I feel like Ben White knew that, and I think he just maybe played it too safe, and he just made risks.
But at the end of the day, it was the right decision at the end of the day, wasn't it? Because if he goes and steams in and gets a silly second booking, all the Arsenal fans are going to turn around and say, it's the same old, the disciplinary issues and that you had last season. And it's, to be fair to him, he did just sort of stand off him and say, look, I'm not going to dive in. I'll come and meet you, but I'm not going to dive in and make a silly challenge. You had the 2-goal cushion. Well, you had the 1-goal cushion for the majority of the second half, and then once you get the second goal, it's kind of, that's it. Then everyone can just sort of relax, because I know that Ramsdale made a couple of decent saves, but other than that, he wasn't really troubled that much, was he? So
yeah, that's the thing. He met, like, I think the one save at the end where people were saying what a great save. I feel like that should be put away. I don't think it was a good. This is what annoys me sometimes. And there's another moment in another game which I'll touch on. We'll touch on in a little while, when people say, "Oh, what a great save," but then you look back at it and you think, is it a good save, or is the finisher just not?
Was that the head? Was that the header?
Yeah. And we're like, that's not really a great save. I feel like that's something you should potentially.
I think you'd probably look at a striker there a bit more and say he should have. He kind of had it straight down the middle of the goal.
I think in the second half, if Palace have better finishers, we're in trouble. But luckily, we got a bit of luck with the second goal, with the deflection, and we needed it. It came at the right time, because I think if that didn't happen, I think the story is very, very different to how it ended.
I think there was one thing that I would have looked at it and said was a slight concern, not a massive one, but it's just the ease in which Palace could play the ball over the top. That was just a slight issue. They were getting a lot of joy with Anderson at the back, just pinging balls over the top of the fullbacks. It might have been because obviously Zinchenko's new to the system and he's still getting.
It's worrying as well, because we've got height in the centre, so that makes it a bit worrying. Because if you look at Saliba, he's not small, and then you look at Ben White, you look at Gabriel, he's not the tiniest of players. But then that's where Palace are quite lucky. They have a front three that have got a bit of height in them. They've got a bit of strength. But luckily, the job got done. But we're going to move on.
I don't think it was luckily. I think Arsenal fully deserved the win.
Yeah, I think second half. Look, I think we were lucky that we weren't up against a better team. But first half, I think we played well enough to deserve 3 points. But that is typical Arsenal.
But you're never going to go away in the Premiership and play against an away side, either at any of the away grounds, and not have a spell where the other team. Very rarely you can have a spell where the other team doesn't have, a 10-15 minute period where they have a few chances. It's just the way it is. So I think Arteta will be happy. Arsenal fans are happy, and good start. Better that you're already 3 points better off at the start than you was last season. So take it and run, mate.
Rome wasn't built in a day, but yeah, it's a good start. And we got Leicester at home next, so I'm hopeful for that as well, considering what we're about to touch on shortly. But we're going to move on to the 12:30 kickoff, where things weren't so good. A great, I would say, a good season for Liverpool last year. Obviously, it's a bit chalk and cheese, dependent on your expectations, because you reached quite a lot of finals. Let's be honest, and you were very nearly there to the Premier League as well. So you had a good run, and obviously the Community Shield was a good start. But Mitrovic comes to town. He's in the Premier League and he keeps his name known. Dale, give me your thoughts on this.
Firstly, you've got to say Fulham played really well. You can't take anything away from them. At the end of the day, they were first to every ball. That first half, especially, they were first to every ball. They won every second ball. They were playing Andreas just behind Mitrovic. Mitrovic was a handful for Van Dijk and Matip. He's physical. He was backing into him. He was making life awkward for him. And you can't really say that the first half they didn't deserve to be 1-0 up, because they did. It was a great little move for him. Ball over to the back post, and Mitrovic versus Alexander-Arnold at the back post. It's a mismatch, isn't it? And it's clever from Mitrovic, because he's obviously looked at him and gone,
it's just funny hearing that, to be honest, mate.
No, but
like,
it's good. It's good forward play. He's not going to try. He knows he's probably going to have a hard time to outjump Matip and Van Dijk, so he's peeled right away to the back post. You can see they tried it a couple of times before that, where he peeled away and they were the ball just wasn't quite right. They got one right. I still think Alisson should have saved the first one, to be honest with you. I think he thinks Mitrovic is going to go back across him, and then by the time he realises that he's gone to the near post, it was just too late. But first half, you can't deny it. Liverpool didn't play well enough. We were slow, lethargic. We didn't move the ball quick enough. We couldn't put 3 or 4 passes together. We had no pattern to play. It was just, it was a bit weird to see, actually, considering how sharp we look against City. But then maybe was that just because City weren't quite up to speed? I don't know, but it kind of gave me a bit of a flashback to when we played Villarreal, that first half against Villarreal last season, where we were 2-0 down after 45 minutes and we played so badly. Second half, it improved. It did improve. Obviously, we got Nunes came on, Elliott came on, and we looked at sort of for half an hour. We looked a completely different side. Nunes made an impact straight away. For me, he's got to start. He's got to start now.
100%. 100%.
He's got to start. But other than that, I mean, look, we got the goal, got it back to 1-1, and you're thinking, well, maybe can we go on now and scrape it and get a lucky win? And then within, I think it was 10 minutes of getting the equaliser, we're back being 2-1 down. Van Dijk again didn't deal with Mitrovic. He played really well, Mitrovic. And,
it just sounds funny. You've got one of the best back forwards in the league, and Mitrovic, first game of the season, he's causing problems. That's the slight worry. Is the slight worry is I see a stat, I think it was yesterday, that I think out of our last 15 or 13 games, we've gone 1-0 down. And then like the games that we have conceded in, we've always conceded the first goal. So it's getting a bit of a worry that we are because we used to be, known for being fast starters and blowing teams away. And now it's getting to the point now where when we concede, we're conceding the first goal and we're not able to really turn it around as quickly as we were. Now, I don't know what the reason for that is, to be brutally honest with you. It's just one of them mad stats that you see. But Van Dijk, he got done by Mitrovic, didn't he? Mitrovic, you got to hand it to him. He played really well. But the thing is with Mitrovic, I think a lot of people wrote him off because he's been in the Premier League before and he hasn't quite done it, and then he drops down to the Championship and he goes from 40 to 1. Like, it is bizarre. It is bizarre.
I think the difference is now with Mitrovic is his experience now. So when he was in the Premier League before, he was at Newcastle, he was really young, he was really raw. He then was in again with Fulham and they bought a hell of a lot of players, and it didn't really click. But I think this time round, what is he now, 27, 28?
Yeah.
He's experienced, he's played for his country.
To be fair, I think he's 26. So I'm pretty sure I looked and he's 26. So he's still got a fair few years.
Yeah, I just think it's the experience now. I think he knows what his game is. He knows what he is. He knows what he's good at. He knows what he's not good at. And I think Fulham now play into his strengths rather than him trying to play as Fulham were trying to play as this pretty football. They're now just going, right, we've got a big guy up front who's good at holding the ball up. He's a handful. Let's just get the ball to him as quickly as we can in the box and see what he can do with it. And that's what they did. So you can't. Nothing. I mean, we got lucky to come away with a point. I know Henderson almost nicked it at the end, but. For me, it was one of them where you sort of go, I'll take a point and we just move on. And hopefully it gives us a bit of a kick up the backside to start faster and it gives us an early wake-up call, because we can't be putting in too many of them performances for this season. Otherwise, we will find ourselves well out of it by Christmas.
100%. Look, from a Fulham perspective, they played well against Liverpool. Liverpool first game of the season, I think most people would have predicted a 3 or 4-0 win. Like, I think people expected Liverpool to shut them out, but they showed a good performance. I thought they held their ground well, even when they were 1-0 up. Like, when you're 1-0 up, a lot of teams panic when you're up against the likes of. I think last season I would have said you had the best front three in the league, no debate. Without Mane now, it's up for consideration. But when you're up against something like that, you do panic when you go 1-0 up because you think, right, they're going to come at us. But I thought they actually held their balance. Mitrovic, yeah, he's
They
hardly
were
a
the better team.
Yeah, he's hardly a Galactico, but I agree. I think they need to make their team around him. They need to build the team around him rather than bringing all this new flesh and then just, trying to put the pieces together. They need to realize how important Mitrovic is, and they might succeed and even stay up this season because
Mitrovic,
he'll do the job.
There's going to be two things that keep them up this season. It's going to be Mitrovic scoring the goals and them getting results at home. And I think they know that. I think if they can nick the odd result away from home, then brilliant. But I think they know that if they can get Mitrovic firing and they can have a good home record, they're the two things I think that will keep Fulham safe. And if they play like they did against us with that intensity and that press, I think they'll be fine. The only thing that might let them down is if they get injuries. But listen, you can't take nothing away from it. It was a great performance by Fulham, not so great by Liverpool, and we'll see how Fulham do. I think Fulham. Obviously, I thought Fulham would stay up before it was that game, and that game just sort of confirmed that. I think they're going to have more firepower than the other teams that are going to be down there. So, yeah, fair play to Fulham. Brilliant performance from them. They're probably a bit gutted that they didn't win, and that's a bit of a weird thing to say when you play against Liverpool, is that you come away a bit gutted that you haven't took all 3 points. So, yeah, fair play to them. Liverpool need to wake up a little bit, I think.
100%. I will touch on the other games briefly. Obviously, Leeds Wolves, great result for them. Brendan Harrison, I tell you what, mate, I hadn't heard of this fella, but I watched a bit of Match of the Day, and then I sort of looked at a few clips, and I thought, because you don't usually get someone come out of where he's from and think, oh, he's a talent. But he looks like someone that could be like, I'm not going to say light at the end of the tunnel, because I don't think Leeds did too badly, considering they got rid of a good manager. But they got a good result, and I think it was largely down to him. And they're going to need someone like him to step up, because they've lost, obviously, Phillips, they've lost Rafinha, but they got a good result against Wolves, obviously, 2-1. And I feel like Wolves are the type of team you expect up there this season. Let's be honest. You'd look at them and think maybe top 8, top 10. So to get these sort of points, it's a start for Jesse Marsch. And I don't think I think he'd have taken a win all day. But I want to talk to you about Leeds in particular, just very, very briefly, and Wolves, because it's been said that Wolves they don't score enough. All they do is defend. Like last season, Jose Sarr, if it wasn't for him, I think they're very much at the bottom of the pile. He's a great keeper and had a good defence, which we'll touch on shortly, actually, with Everton. But yeah, they've now brought in Guedes. What's your take on Wolves this season and this loss? Do you feel like this is just a one-off, or do you think that perhaps this is a wake-up call that they do need to get the guns firing?
I think with Wolves, I think they're trying to go in a little bit of a different direction this season, aren't they? They've always been playing that back five, even under Nuno. They played a back five, and they've always done well keeping the ball out the net, like you say, but they've never been prolific. I don't think Jimenez has ever really been the same since he got that injury. So that's hindered their goals.
He's out again as well, isn't it? It's
just, but I think with them, obviously with the whole Cody situation, it doesn't quite make sense to me. I mean, letting your best centre back go to let's face it, Everton are probably going to be someone who they class as in and around them in terms of quality of squad and expectation, and they're selling to a rival essentially. Doesn't quite sit right with me. It might be that they needed to get rid of him in order to bring Guedes in from Valencia, who's another attacking player. So maybe they're thinking we can go to a forward back, play with an extra attacker. So who knows with Wolves? I think Wolves are always a bit of an up and down team, aren't they? They win 2 or 3 on the bounce, and they lose 2 or 3 on the bounce. So I think Wolves will be fine. They've got enough quality, I think, to keep them up. But you don't want to be losing too many early on in the season. Leeds though, for Leeds, it's all about winning, isn't it? It's about getting as many points on the board as you can, as early as you can. For them, it's all about just getting a good start. I think if they can get through the first 10 games and they can get 4 or 5 wins on the board, or 3 or 4 wins, I think they'll be quite happy with that. If they can nick a few draws and sort of get through the first 10 games and be sort of mid-15th to mid-table, I think they'll be quite happy with that. But yeah, good result for Leeds. Not so great for Wolves, but I don't really worry for Wolves. I would still say I worry more for Leeds.
A bit like a Palace, really, aren't they? They're just expected to plot somewhere. They haven't really got an expectation. Middle of the table. Like, you know, you're expected to compete, but not compete too dearly. I think with Wolves, they're just it's obvious and it's pretty much imminent that they're going to stay up. However, I just think for me, you know, they've for the front three that they've had and they're now going to have with Guedes as well coming in. They need to just start scoring. It didn't work with Traore. He's back now. I don't know what's going to happen with him. You know, does he start every week? Because they've got Neto and Podence, and I wouldn't take either of them out on my side the way that Traore has been. So, and then you've got Guedes, who, from what I know and from what I've seen, he looks good. And they just need to score. Defensively, I think they're spot on. Diego Carlos, he's a good signing. And obviously, yeah, Cody is a massive loss. Doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. Shout out to on the Twitter. Obviously, some of our fans were some of our followers were saying, "Oh, could be because of the World Cup." Good comment. However, is he going to get in the in the World Cup playing for Everton? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think that's where you want to put it.
I think the only thing with that is about the World Cup. He would have played for Wolves. So game time. So game time isn't an issue for him. He would have played for both. I think maybe it's that, you know, he's a Liverpool lad.
Unless people think that he's coming in for Kilman, he's going out for Kilman, which I would be baffled if that was ever the case.
I think with teams like Wolves, it's all about balancing the books. I can't imagine Guedes is coming in on low wages, so they might have been that, you know, he might have said to Wolves that, you know, I'm a Liverpool lad, I wouldn't mind going back home. Yeah. He's probably one of the higher earners at the club as well, so maybe they thought we'll get him off the wage bill. That frees us up to pay Guedes a few more quid to get him in. So maybe that's in their thinking, and maybe they're thinking they've got enough, like you say, with Kilman. I know they like that young lad Totti, who started playing towards the end of last season. So maybe they're thinking, well, they'll bring him through. Obviously, they've got Willy Bolly. So maybe they're thinking that he's not as important as maybe what the outside think. But he's been their captain since they come up. He's probably the most vocal out of all of their centre-halves. So it is a bit of a strange one to me to sell to Everton. But maybe they just think they've got enough.
Good asset for them, though. It's probably their best. I would honestly say it's. We'll touch on Everton shortly, but I would honestly say that's their best signing of the summer. I don't rate McNeil, which I said last week, so I think that is a great signing for them. We're gonna have to touch on Tottenham. I don't really want to, but because I don't like swallowing words and eating humble pie. But what a start for them! 4-1 against Southampton. Look, I said last week. I said that the Saints are in trouble. Reason being, I just feel like a lot of teams are up and coming. Saints are very much just at a standstill. I think they rely too much on Ward-Prowse. I think it is a situation like it is with many teams, to be honest, in the Premier League. But with them, they haven't got any other really else to look to. Like Adam Armstrong, Stuart Armstrong, Che Adams, they're not people you can look at and be like, yeah, you'll come in and do the job if he doesn't. But yeah, Ward-Prowse, look, they started well. We put them 1-0 up. But for me, the thing is with Tottenham, this is what annoyed me. Son and Kane actually had bad games, both of them, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. I thought they both played. I'm not going to say poorly, but I think it was not as good as what I'd expect, considering how well Tottenham were flourishing. And yet they still got the job done. And I'm going to talk about that Swedish little fella, Kulusevski. It annoys me. I said last week, didn't I? Chris was on here saying, "Oh, Kulusevski's going to have a brilliant season." I thought, all right. Like you're getting too excited. But I'm looking at last year and what business was made and what was done, and I'm looking at all the summer everything that happened, going from July to January, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, who's had the biggest impact on the team since, let's say, July? And it is probably him, because he's got them top 4 without a doubt. Like, he was crucial to how well they played. And he's now just becoming he's becoming their bread and butter almost. If you take Son and Kane out of that team, he's the next best thing. And you've got to look at them two, and you think Son and Kane are one of the best partnerships to ever grace the Premier League. So it's like, all right, you're doing quite well to be on the balance with them, like, already. And you've only been in the league, say, 6-7 months. But yeah, what's your take on this win for Tottenham? And there's been a lot of talk as well about how they can title charge and be on this run. Do you agree with that, or do you think perhaps they still need a little bit more?
firstly, the worry is, like you say, Son and Kane didn't have their best game and they still won 4-1. So that's the first worry. I think Kulusevski's definitely added to them. He's taken the weight off of, he's taken the attention off of Kane and Son as such, because there's now a third prong in the attack, which obviously everyone needs to pay attention to. I don't think you can read too much into it. Everyone before the game would have put Tottenham to win that game. I know there was a bit of wishful thinking when they went 1-0 down, but I see Tottenham as the third best team. I think they've got the third best manager, and I think they're the third best team. I think, but Spurs are the sort of team that will beat Southampton this week, and then they play Chelsea, and they'll go and get beat by Chelsea. That's the sort of team that they are. So I think they've got to get a consistent run of games of wins, and then we can start talking about how serious they are. I don't think you can take too much from any of the teams really after the first game, because everyone's still getting up to speed. Every team's going to be at different levels. Some may be ready to go now. Some it may take them 2 or 3 weeks to sort of get used to the pace and get back into it. So I think Tottenham they're going to be up there. I don't see them finishing outside the top 4. I think they'll be the closest ones to City and Liverpool this season. But yeah, it's a good start for them, but unexpected one, I think.
Yeah, that hurts. That really, really, really hurts to hear. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think Kulusevski's only on loan still as well. But they've got an option. They've got an option to buy. Which
I don't know if they bought. Yeah, I don't know if they bought him this summer or not. I'm not sure.
No, I think he's still on loan, but there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
They'll be silly not
they'll
to.
be signing. Yeah, they've wasted money along the years. I mean, we're about to talk about how money can be wasted. But you look at the money they've spent: Sanchez, Ndombele, Lo Celso, all bought for big money. None of them have been vindicated, and now they've got a loanee, and he's excelled in this league.
But that's the difference. The difference is Conte. Conte doesn't buy a player like Pep and Klopp. He doesn't buy players unless they fit his system. So he doesn't. He knows what system he plays. He knows what players he needs for that system. So he buys players to fit that system rather than buying a player because they're available. And I think that's the difference with Tottenham now, is they've got a manager who knows exactly what he wants. He's got a manager who knows how to win. And they've got players now that fit the system they're playing. I mean, 2 years ago, Ryan Sessegnon couldn't get a look in at Tottenham, and now he's potentially their first choice left wing back because he fits the system. So it just goes to show you that you need the right manager at the right time and the right system, and you can go places.
Yeah, he's been backed as well. He's talking of fullbacks. They've just signed another fullback. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because it's going to absolutely end in tears.
He's gone back on loan though, hasn't he?
Yeah, but they've spent more on fullbacks than most teams combined in the last 2 years. You think they brought in Sessegnon, Emerson, Doherty, now this guy, and obviously the thing is, I think the centre pairing, Eric Dyer, he's got his place now. I think going back to the whole Cody thing about the World Cup, that's the only reason I can see Cody not having a chance whatsoever, is because you can't really not take Eric Dyer at the moment. He's playing Champions League football, well, soon to be, and he is playing well. He's doing a job for them, and he's going to be playing with the big boys. Let's be honest. So Southgate can't sit there and be like, oh, it's a matter of who you play for, like he usually does. But before we move on, I think Dale, you said that you predict Tottenham to lose this one this weekend. Is that right, against Chelsea?
No, so I'm not. I don't necessarily think they'll lose, but I just think that Tottenham in the past have been a team that will go and get a good result, and then everyone tips them to do something, and then they let you down by going and losing. I don't think you read too much into the game at the weekend either. Even if they were to lose it, I think you need to let's get through the first round of fixtures and see what their record is against the top 6 teams, and then we can kind of see where Tottenham are going to be. But if I was to pick a winner this weekend, I think it's going to be a draw, actually. I could see it being either a 0-0 or a 1-1.
Makes it easy for me. I would probably say a 1-1, yeah. About to go on to Chelsea, Everton in a very, very short while. But yeah, I think for me, Chelsea just look too defensive at the moment. I think they'll probably end up getting a penalty again. And I think Tottenham will get a nice little Harry Kane poacher's goal, 87th minute, something like that. I think it'll be a boring game. It's got one of them games which you look at and it should be good, but I just don't think it will live up to the expectation. But yeah, Luke, cheers to tuning in. Always good to have you on board. We'll touch on Newcastle just for a minute, because I do want to just talk about how well they looked. I'm baffled, to be honest. because everyone was saying last season, Saudi are coming in. Saudi are gonna, they're gonna bring the magic. And I was like, what are you on about? Like, it's just owners. They don't have that much of an effect. The juice isn't always worth the squeeze. Sometimes you can spend 300 million, like Man United. You could go spend a lot of money and it still not work. But however, look, Forest, for me, Forest at home, you look at it and you think, okay, that's a good first game of the season. One where you can, make your name shown, get a few goals in, get the team boost. But Newcastle just looked good. I think against anyone, they would have looked good. And as an Arsenal fan, it sickens me to see Ramirez playing so well for the likes of Newcastle. Because I sit there and I think, right, if he was in our team and he's doing this, I think we're the fixed puzzle. I generally think we've got everything there. But yeah, great result for Newcastle. And I generally believe they are one or two signings. I'll tell you what, if not two, one signings from competing at a top 8 at least. And maybe even above, because they've got the quality there in their team now. They seem under control, which is good after so long under, obviously, the likes of, we go under the ownership, the management they had for so many years. They put up with that, but now so quickly they're starting to see a change around. But just give me your quick thoughts on Newcastle, because I know we got to go into other games. But yeah, what's your thoughts on them this season? And do you feel like they are that close to becoming in that Aston Villa, Wolves, Man United situation, West Ham even, or do you think there's perhaps still a lot of work to do?
I think they're still going to be quite highly reliant on Wilson to score the goals. Obviously, they've improved. I know Joelinton's I don't know what he's had, but he's all of a sudden become a really good player for them. Obviously, Ramirez coming in was a good signing. Botman looked quite assured at the back from the highlights that I saw. He looked solid, but I still think that they're going to rely on Wilson for goals. Obviously, they've just got a feel-good factor about them now, haven't they? The fans are on board. The club's they've got a good young manager. They've got a good their side's not an aging side really. They've got quite a few good young players. So I think they'll be top 10 this season easily. Where in that top 10, obviously, I think still remains to be seen. I still think that they need a decent backup striker. I know they tried to get one, but he went to PSG, didn't he? I can't remember the guy's name. I can't pronounce his name. He went to PSG. So I think there's potential that they still might bring a striker in, because Callum Wilson constantly gets injured, doesn't he? He never gives you a full season. But yeah, I think they'll be a solid mid-table team, 10th to 7th. I think it's going to be their sort of aim this year. And if you offered them the Carabao Cup and a 7th place finish or an 8th place finish, I think they'd bite your hand off for that. And I think they're another one that, based on their start to the season last year, they didn't win a game for, like, was it 10 games or 12 games or something? They didn't win a game for. So I think they're in the same situation as Arsenal, in terms of they just want to get a good start, get a couple of wins under their belt, and then they build from there. Because I think Arsenal and Newcastle, obviously last season, they both had a poor start. So I think it's just important to get a good start for the likes of Newcastle and play teams like that.
100%. And yeah, I talk about Newcastle. The thing is with Forest, I just want to quickly say this. I think they're going to struggle, and the reason being, I think the problem is with Forest, they've got too many pieces to put together too quickly. They've signed a whole new squad, and I just don't think they've got enough time to do it. I just generally don't think. I'm not going to slander the manager, but I don't think he's got it in his locker to put all this together.
He's had his hands tied, really, because they're a championship squad that overachieved and got promotion. You look at the likes of Bournemouth and Fulham. When they go down, they get like 40 million in parachute payments, whereas Nottingham Forest got 6 million the season before for finishing wherever they finished in the championship. So they had a budget of 6 million, which is why they had so many loan players, and they just all of a sudden got through a season. Really, they got promoted in a season that they shouldn't have done. So you have no choice but to spend money.
That's the thing, and the thing is that other teams will just come above them as well. By the time they find any balance whatsoever, if they
I don't think they'll panic though. I think they've got a good manager. He's obviously not proven at this level, but he's a good manager. I think they will pick up results along the way. It's just whether they can pick up enough to keep them up. I had them going down when I did my
a lot of people don't as well, which I find baffling.
I think it's just because of that first season. You can sort of ride the wave for the first season, can't you? How many teams have we seen come up for the first season, do really, really well, and then they're down in the second season? I think it's just whether they can get this again. It's home form. If they can get their home form, and they can make it difficult for teams to go there, and they can pick up enough points at home and then pick up enough away, I think they might have a slight chance, but it needs to click pretty quickly. I think everyone would have had Newcastle to win that opening day, so I don't think they'll panic. I think they know what they are. They know what their objectives will be, and that will just be just even if it comes down to the last game of the season, being in with a chance to stay up. But that's all they're hoping for.
100%. Let's talk about Chelsea. Obviously, they've had a very busy week. Cucurella's come on board. Last time we were talking, he was sort of near enough there. We knew it was happening, but it's closed in. They've now got rid of Werner. I'm going to say this is a very lucky result for them because I don't think they deserved it whatsoever. I watched the game, and for me, a very lucky 3 points. And I know I've got a friend, Sean Pinner, out there that will be very happy to have me say that. But Everton, I thought Everton looked better on paper. Like looking at how they actually played football. For me, I look at Chelsea, and you look at how much they've spent money on their attack. They just play so defensively. And I'm thinking, what's the point in putting all your eggs in one basket, in signing Lukaku, signing Werner, signing Havertz, signing Ziyech, and then parking the bus? I just don't get it. Any Chelsea fan that can tell me, let me know.
I think we've got to remember that Ziyech, Werner, Havertz, were they not all signed by Lampard? They weren't they?
I get that.
So I think. But also, I think a lot of Chelsea fans are blinded by the Thiago Silva thing as well, because I hear that people tell me he's a world class centre half and that he's as good as anyone in the league, but he's not at his age because you can't play him. You can't play him in a 4. You see in games last season and even in pre-season when you play Thiago Silva in a back 4, they lose every single time. So I think they play the back 5 because it benefits Thiago Silva and having his experience and gets him his experience in the team, because they've got 2 young fullbacks who, they've only been sort of first team for the last sort of 2 seasons. So they're still vaguely inexperienced. I know they brought in Koulibaly, who's experienced in Europe, but he's not experienced in the Premier League. Obviously, as Azpilicueta, I'm surprised he's still there. To be brutally honest with you, I think he's well past what he used to be.
Just signed a new deal.
I think, like I said last week with Chelsea, I think they're going to be okay defensively, and I think they'll get enough clean sheets. But I do worry about where the goals come from now.
100%, yeah.
If they're letting Werner go, which he's gone today, that can only tell me that they must have someone lined up. They must do. If they don't sign a striker or an attacking player in this window, I'd be very, very surprised now. But I had Chelsea finishing outside the top 6, which probably is me probably wishful thinking more than anything. They probably will finish in the top 6 just because of their experience, but I don't think they'll get top 4, and I do think that they'll struggle for goals this season.
Yeah, I'm the same. Look, anyone that's watched this show since we began. When was this? 2.5 years ago, and I'm the first person to back Raheem Sterling. However, I look at this team and I just think, where is it all going to come from? I just don't think he's enough. Like, I doubt many can sit there and confidently convince someone that Havertz, Sterling, and Broja are going to bring you. They're going to take you up a gear. And if you're a Chelsea fan, that's what you want, because you've been sat underneath City in Liverpool. Now's your time to pounce and go for the title charge. You've got a new owner. You've got a great manager above you.
I think they tried that last season, didn't they? I think they tried that. I think that was,
and it failed miserably. And now, if anything, they're a step back.
I think that's what's put them off. But I think going for another striker for big money, because they brought Lukaku back, it didn't work. They brought Havertz in for big money, who's done absolutely nothing for them. All right, I know people would tell me he scored a goal in the Champions League final, but Vladimir Smicer scored a goal in the Champions League final. It don't mean nothing. It's all about doing it in the Premier League for me, and he ain't good enough. Havertz isn't good enough. Ziyech isn't good enough. Pulisic isn't good enough. Werner wasn't good enough. And I think if you look back at the history of Chelsea, I mean, since Drogba and possibly Diego Costa, when was the last time they had a top striker that performed week in, week out for them? They haven't had it for a while. So that's why I just think that Chelsea might struggle for goals. And Raheem Sterling playing through the middle, we've seen him do it for City. It doesn't work. We've seen him do it for England. It doesn't work. He's a winger or an inside forward, however you want to look at it. And I think that if Werner goes out the door, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be slightly worried that there hasn't been sort of any speculation or rumours as to them bringing somebody in. I know that Sesko just went to Leipzig from Salzburg, and I'm surprised they didn't go for someone like him, someone who's young, who they can take a chance on, who's got a growing reputation. But I would based on that performance by Chelsea, I think defensively they look fine, but going forward, I would worry slightly that over the course of the season they're not going to score enough goals. But let's wait and see. There's still time in the window. They may surprise us with a bid for a striker.
Yeah, this is the thing. My only question would be who. Like, I just look around and I think at the moment who's actually gonna, like, you can't do a Man United and go and make this panic buy, because everyone's really tied down now. Lewandowski's just moved to Barcelona. You know, like all
he
those
was the
sort
one
of players.
He was the one I thought they were going to go for. I thought as soon as Lewandowski came available, I thought Chelsea were going to be all over him, especially with.
Yeah, I said the same, because I thought that Lewandowski will want he'll want some sort of stint in the Premier League. So I thought, here we go, new owner. What are you going to do? I know, I'll chuck a load of money at Robert Lewandowski just because he'll do it. You know he'll bring stuff to the table. But look, Brojo is a great player, and I thought he was a good asset for Southampton. I think he probably should have been signed by them. Like I said, they're in a bit of a palaver now. I think.
But also, I think maybe that is the option now. Maybe that with this new owner, they have so many good young players that come in and go out on loan, and then they don't ever get a chance. Maybe they're going to say to Broja, "This is your chance now. You know, we're going to throw you in. We're going to throw you in Champions League games. You'll get runs in the cups, and it's up to him to take it. If he plays in the cup games and he's scoring, then the manager's going to have to play him. So it's down to him really to take the chances that he gets. But yeah, Chelsea will wait and see on them. I still have a question mark over Chelsea, but a good win. They got a win at a tough place to go, so you got to give them credit for that.
Yeah, that's the thing. And the only thing I'll say to Chelsea is you can't sell players like Werner and Lukaku. Well, Lukaku on loan, but obviously he's going to end up. But it makes sense, however, because it hasn't worked out. But you can't do it without expecting consequences, because there's going to be some. So they need to make sure that they get the ball rolling in the transfer window. We're going to move on to the best result of the weekend. Erik ten Hag, welcome to Premier League football. Absolutely brilliant. I've got a family full of Man United fans, so this was a joy to see. This was literally, if I was to have a dessert every day, this would be the icing on my cake. It is perfect. But yeah, what a wake-up call. Erik ten Hag brought in, I'll be honest, an abysmal performance from Man United.
But I think the thing is, it's the same team they had last year, but they put a 5'9" centre back in there. That's literally it.
Yeah,
they haven't changed nothing. The problems were there under Ollie. The problems were there under Rangnick. The problems were there under what was his name? What was the Dutch guy they had before Ollie?
Van Gaal.
Van Gaal. So they've had the problems have dated back with all the same players. They've dated back 3 managers already. Ten Hag comes in, buys a centre back. It doesn't. It's
Christian
not enough.
Eriksen.
It's not enough. And then he doesn't play with a striker. It's if I was a United fan, no wonder they were fighting in the stands, because it's like he's come in and he doesn't. Like, you got Ronaldo on the bench. I know he's causing problems, but at the start of the season, just get a win. Put him on.
Use the tools. Use
him until you don't have him. He's going to be more annoyed now that he hasn't played. He would have liked to have thought, if you played for someone like Ronaldo, he's going to have a point to prove to everyone, say, look, I'm still the main man, but this is what you're missing, sort of thing. But it was just, like I say, Liverpool having a bad result, and then hearing the news that Brighton were 2-1 up was music to my ears. And if Liverpool don't win, the next best thing is Man United lose. So I was chuffed with that result. And you got to hand it to Brighton, because they lost 2 of their best players in Basuma and Cucurella. They've gone to Old Trafford and they've got a result, and it just proves that Potter, he's still a manager to be feared in a way, because Brighton play good football and they always start well as well. Brighton always. So fair play to Brighton. They went to Old Trafford. They won comfortably. I didn't see much of the game. I saw the highlights, but it didn't look like there had too much to sort of. It wasn't like a lucky 2-1 or they've snatched a goal. It looked like they were pretty much the better team for the majority of the game. So yeah, fair play to Brighton, and let's hope Man United continue to lose.
That's the thing. Look, for me, Brighton, I just think what I find baffling this, right? We've spoken about who we think is going to go down and all this stuff. And usually on a normal day, you would look at Brighton's squad on paper, right? I looked at their starting 11 and I thought, wow, like how are they, like Welbeck, Lallana, names like that, Pascal Grob. And you think, oh, you'd probably look at them and usually you'd consider them to be down there. Not a single person I know has ever even said, oh, Brighton will probably struggle this season because Graham Potter is in charge. But yeah, look, he lost Ben White, obviously coming to us, and then he's lost Basuma and Cucurella, and he still found a way to make things happen.
Do you know what I like about him as well? He never moans. Like even if his team have played badly, he'll come out and say they weren't the better team. But he never moans about the officials. He never moans about refereeing decisions. He never moans about anything. He loses his players year on year out, and he still manages to get results. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised that someone bigger haven't come in for him. I'm surprised that
it will happen 100%.
I know it sounds silly. And United fans might not want to hear this, but where United are right now, surely a Potter would have been the sort of the answer.
I agree.
Just take a risk on him. It can't get any worse than it is now. So why not take a risk on someone who can do it in the Premier League with a lower team? I know they might say that they've tried that with Ollie and it didn't work and stuff like that, but Potter's got no emotional connection to United, and I'm surprised that when Ollie was sacked and Ranić come in, that Potter's name wasn't someone that they were looking at. Maybe they don't think he's a big enough profile, but at the end of the day, you need someone who plays good football and gets results.
I mean, I'll be honest, mate. I've seen Potter's name linked to England, so if they think that he's not a big enough profile, that's as big as it gets.
If I was a United fan and I was watching Brighton, I'd be thinking that's everything I want United to be for now.
Yeah,
and to get them with the quality that United have got in the team, in terms of their individual players, someone like Potter comes in and gets them playing in a structure in a way that actually can get results. You'd look at Brighton as the perfect example. They never get battered. They never really get battered by anybody. They tend to get decent results away from home. Their home form's really good. And they've got a young English manager who understands the league and has proven himself now over the last 2 or 3 seasons that he can do it. So Ten Hag to me it's still an odd one. I don't see it ending well. But obviously you've got to give him time. It's his first game. United are going to win games this season. We know they are, just because they always do. But yeah, I don't think they'll be anywhere near the top 4 this year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the fact that Brighton haven't got a lot to work with, and Potter's still getting the job done. Sure. And some of them were excellent. Welbeck, Trossard, I think they were both.
But also, good. I think you look at the players like Caicedo they brought in, and like you say, Trossard, and even players like Lewis Dunk. These players are players that, all right, they might not be the biggest names in the world, and they might not be the flashiest players, but why can Brighton find these players but United can't? That would be the bigger worry. Why are Brighton finding, a Caicedo or a Basuma or these type of players in the French leagues or in the lower leagues around Europe, and they're finding these little hidden gems? But United, who are supposedly the biggest club in the world, they can't find no one, and they waste all their money on so-called names. That would be more worrying for me.
Yeah, it's a good point. I do just want to give my 2 pence to United, because I hate Man United. To be honest, I hate them as much as Tottenham. I'll say that till the day I die. I genuinely think they should be so worried. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better for me, in my opinion. He's there.
How much worse can it get? How much worse can it get though? What's worse for United? I mean, I said this last week that I don't think finishing outside Europe's a bad thing for United. I know United fans might think not, but I think if you finish outside
the money,
Europe,
though, isn't it? It's the money.
But they've got money, haven't they? United are always going to have money just purely because of the size of them. So I think if they're not going to be in with a chance of getting into Europe this season, I don't think finishing outside Europe. I would go, even if you finish 10th and you go on a cup run and you try and just get a trophy in the cabinet, and then start again with a year without Europe. And look how it's benefited Arsenal. No Arsenal fans at the time have said, Europe was the worst thing that they could ever experience, and it was the worst this and it was the worst that. But actually, if you look at it, it gives you a chance to rebuild, and it gives you a chance to bring through some younger, more hungry players, and it gives you a chance to then the next season when you start with no expectation of getting into Europe and you do manage to get into Europe, that's the stepping stone. And then you go again. And that's, I think United are at that point now where even if they finish 8th, who cares? Just start again.
Finish at 8th, bloody hell! I don't want to hear them words again. But yeah, that's too many familiar names. Anyway, yeah. The thing is for me, United, I do not understand what they are doing in terms of their transfer window. You've just mentioned like how it's gone wrong. I feel like there's a like Ten Hag's here to put out a fire. I feel like the flames are getting bigger. They've spent 140 million on their centre halves, and you think, right, new blood in the team, Brighton at home, beginning of the season, new manager in the turnstile, right? This is your bread and butter. We're going to go all guns blazing, 3 points, surely. And then you see your two centre halves get dominated by the likes of Danny Welbeck, Leonardo Trossard, and Cancelo, who I've never really heard of, to be honest. I'll be completely honest with you. Before Sunday's game, I had not heard of him. I would be absolutely baffled. And they're signing this player. And I'm thinking, this is small fish in a big pond. If you can't handle the pressure against the likes of them, they're up against Ivan Toney next week. He's going to have a field day. He's going to have an absolute field day. And the same going for they play you the week after that. Darwin Núñez, I mean, he's going to have the best time of his life if they play.
I think as well, I think you just got to remember that Ten Hag, he's not going to solve it all in one summer. It's going to take him, mate. If they're prepared to stick with him and they're going to give him, 3 years to see where they're at and build, it's going to take him 2, maybe 3 transfer windows to get it right. But it's just like I say, I don't think United fans are. I think the expectations already dropped for United fans. They know where they are. They know that what their sort of level is now for the next few seasons, and it's down to him to rebuild them back up. And he's going to need money. He's going to need to buy the right players. He's going to need to get away from United being a side that buy a name just for the sake of them being linked to United and buying somebody that just comes in because it excites the fans. They need to back Ten Hag and give him the players that he wants to effectively play the way that he wants. And until they start backing the manager and doing that, then they're going to just continue doing what they're doing. They need to change what their policy and their structure and start backing the manager in terms of, right, you're our man for the next 3 or 4 years. What do you need? We'll get it for you. And that's, I know they're trying, or they're supposedly trying for De Jong, but if it's got to need more than a holding midfielder to sort them out. But that's I'm loving them. I'm enjoying United's ship sinking while I can, because we all know that at some point they will be back, and that's the one day that we're just going to have to hope carries on for a long time, because I don't want to see it ever again. But it will happen at some point. At some point they're going to get it right. So let's just enjoy it while we can.
Yeah, I mean, I look at them like I do. We were just talking in Chelsea on where's it all going to come from. I did think the same thing on Sunday. I looked at their lineup without Ronaldo and I thought, who's going to bring the magic here? Like, I don't see Rashford or Sancho turning up anytime soon. And to be honest, they delivered to my expectations. They didn't really have a great game against Brighton. And yeah, like you said, fine. Ronaldo's done something bad, but fine him. Just fine him. What's the point in not starting him when it's going to cause you more problems than it is him? He'll just go and find another job if he really wants to. He's the best player in the world.
I could understand it if Martial was fit, because he's had quite a good pre-season and they had another striker. Yeah. But the fact that they went into that first game without a striker, that was
with Eriksen up top, like it just makes no sense.
I know that he's probably trying to make a point to Ronaldo, saying, "Look, I'm not going to play you if you're not with us, and I'll just play a midfielder up there." But I mean, sometimes just use him while you got him. If he decides to leave between now and the end of August, then who cares? Just use him while you got him. And I think that was probably what United fans were probably a bit upset about, is the fact that, all right, he's throwing his toys out of the pram, but just use him while you got him, because at the end of the day, we all know that nothing makes Ronaldo happier than scoring goals. So just chuck him in your team for now and hope he can keep you going. And who knows, if he's playing and scoring, he might turn around and say, you know what, I'm actually going to stay. So
yeah,
who knows? But
he hasn't got long left either. Like, what they got to remember is, I generally don't believe he'll bring as much to the table as what he did last season. I don't think he'll have enough support. I don't think there'll be enough people there to give him the service he got. I can't see 20 goals for him this season, in my opinion. I feel like they're going to need to be a bit more flexible. They've got Europa League as well now, so that's going to come into thing. And he will need rest. As good as he is, every player needs rest, and he's not going to be able to do it all every week. So I think players like Rashford and Sancho are going to need to step up, and they're going to need to bring someone else in. There's no doubt about that. If they don't do that, then it's curtains before the day's even started. So
Marko Arnautovic is the answer, isn't he?
I mean, this is what I mean. More money than sense in that team. Like, you have all these troubles. Martinez has just had a poor beginning. And okay, fine, it's just his debut. Eriksen, he didn't really do much, and I still don't think he's the answer anyway. He's old, he's got heart problems. He's not going to be a fix. And you decide that Adrian Rabiot and Marko Arnautovic are the solutions. Oh my God!
But unfortunately, that's the shops they're shopping in now. They're not shopping in the most expensive shops. They're shopping in your mid range shops. They're not at the top table anymore, and that's just obviously hard for United fans to hear. But they're not shopping in the same market as the likes of City and Liverpool and even Spurs and Arsenal now. You'd say, and Chelsea. They're all shopping in a different shop to Man United. And Man United are a Europa League side now. And that's their level, so they've got to buy players to come in at that level, unfortunately, and it's just the way it is. But let's not take nothing away from Brighton. It was a great result for them and Potter, and I think that there'll be a few more like this from Brighton. I think Brighton might go under the radar this season.
Interesting. And one more thing as well, Ten Hag, if you're going to do a job with the little tools you got, get it correct. What is he doing playing Mick Fred in the midfield? Van der Beek, I feel sorry for you because you can't be that bad if McTominay and Fred are starting ahead of you. That was abysmal performance in the midfield. I was just, if I was sat watching that on the bench and I was a midfielder, I'd be raging. I'd be genuinely raging because I don't know. He's meant to be experienced as well. He's meant to be a good manager, yet he still got it wrong. He made 3 wrong decisions, and the 3 of them are there. Not starting Ronaldo and playing Fred and McTominay. It just didn't work. And we saw that last season.
But it hasn't worked for 3 years, and it seems like every manager still does it. So there must be something that they're seeing that they think they can get out of them. But maybe that in training they're unreal, and then they just can't bring it to a match day. But who cares? Let's hope that it continues.
Hopefully so. We're going to have to talk on these, obviously. Last game of the day, obviously, Liverpool dropping points. It got the pot boiling for City to go and deliver and Haaland to come and make his name known. I want to ask you, has this changed? Like, what's this made you feel like now? Obviously, being a Liverpool fan, Liverpool rivals with City, they have been for many seasons now in the league. Has this made you change your mind? Do you feel like, oh, God, Haaland really has... now in the coffin, or is it still too soon to tell anything?
I think the thing is with Haaland, everyone knows he's going to score. He's going to score goals because he's scored goals everywhere he's been. He's not going to all of a sudden come to the best team in effectively the world and not get chances to score. So we know he's going to score goals. I thought West Ham were really poor, actually. I thought they were really off it. And also, if you look at City's record at West Ham, they never lose at West Ham. I think their last 5 or 6 games they played at West Ham, I think they conceded like 1 goal and scored about 25 or something stupid. So they always win at West Ham. I still don't see it with Haaland. I know that obviously he's powerful when he makes runs in behind, but I'm just not sure he suits Man City yet. I still think like for the majority of that game the other day he was non-existent. All right, he gets the penalty, and some might say, well, it doesn't have to be, he doesn't have to do a lot apart from he's walked away with 2 goals and he hasn't played that well, which is fair enough. But I just think over the course of the season, I don't think he's going to be a flop, but I just don't think he's going to score the amount of goals that we all might think he will. And obviously, he might completely prove me wrong and go and score 35 goals in this season and absolutely tear it apart.
I'm going for the latter, to be fair.
But just looking at it, as I say, it's a first game. I mean, he was playing up against a young lad in Johnson. I can't remember who started, Zuma and Johnson, wasn't it, centre half? So, yeah. I mean, it's not the
and then Kufau and...
Yeah, I mean, it's not the hardest defence. You saw against Liverpool the week before when he played against Matip and Van Dijk. He hardly had a sniff, really. So yeah. I think coming up against the team, it's going to be. I think he's going to have to do it in the big games to kind of win me over. I think if you're scoring 2 against West Ham and you're scoring, 2 against your Wolves and your Bournemouth, that's not, they've always had strikers who've done that. I think if he wants to be the player that we all think he's going to be and we all sort of are fearing that he's going to be, I think it's going to be more, again, let's see what his record is against the top 6. Because if you remember correctly, when Lukaku was here before, Lukaku always scored against the lesser teams, and he scored bad loads of goals against the lesser teams. But as soon as it comes to a top 6 team, he couldn't do it. And he kind of plays the same way as Lukaku. If you look at the way that they play, they're kind of similar in the way that they play. I think technically Haaland's probably better than Lukaku, but in terms of the runs in behind, he likes to try and hold it up as well and use his physicality. But we'll wait and see on Haaland. Obviously, it's a great start for him. I think getting a penalty in your first game's like a striker's dream, isn't it? A tap in or a penalty, you take that all day. And you kind of saw, like with Núñez, when he scored his first goal, it lifted the weight off of his shoulders. You saw straight away after he was running about more, he was getting involved more, and obviously took his second one really well as well. But again, I've never questioned his ability or his, the fact that he will score goals. He will. He's that type of striker. But I'm just interested to see how he fares against the best defenses. If he comes away from against the top 6 this season, he scored 5 or 6 goals and he's won Man City them games against the so-called top 6, then I'll say, fair enough, he's proved me wrong. But I haven't seen enough yet to really feel like it's changed City that much. So We'll wait and see.
Fair comment, and I agree with you on West Ham. I don't think they played well, but yeah, Haaland started off the way he wanted to. Fingers with me, I think he's a fox in the box, but he's got pace as well, which scares me, to be honest. He's got a bit of both, but yeah, far too soon to sell. I think people are getting too excited. I'm not going to sit there and say, "Oh, the league's over already." No. I saw spaces on Twitter and people are calling Klopp out, and it's like, what's Klopp done? He's just done the best things for you in century, of Liverpool's history. One manager you do not disrespect, considering what you've gone through. But yeah, before we wrap up, I do want to get a quick prediction. Obviously, Monday night you play Palace. We just had Palace on a Friday, so this will be an interesting one. Just want to gather your thoughts. Obviously, Thiago is injured now. So give me a little bit of talk on that and whether you think it is a must for you to bring someone in.
I don't think we will, though. That's the problem. I think Klopp's made it clear that he's not going to buy somebody for the sake of it. I think unless Dortmund give us any sort of indication that Bellingham's available or Bellingham's there's a chance for him this season. I think it's with Klopp, it's Bellingham or no one. Thiago thing's unfortunate, but every year he's been with us, he's had spells out. So it just come at a bad time that Ox is out and Curtis Jones, who I really wanted to see get some more game time this season, is out as well. But Keita only missed the game on the weekend because he was ill. So he'll be back against Palace. Obviously, Harvey Elliott came on and he looked really good as well in that sort of right-sided channel with Salah. So yeah, I mean, listen, everyone would expect us to win that game, but I'm not even too fussed about the performance at the minute. I think your home games, even for Liverpool, it's got to be a fortress. So I would expect nothing more than a win. How that win comes at this stage of the season, I really don't care. I'd take a scrappy 1-0 now. But I think Núñez is going to start, which gives us, I mean, you saw when he come on against Fulham, he just gave us something completely different. He went and sat and stood right in between the two Fulham centre halves. And as soon as he came on, they didn't know really how to deal with him. I think Firmino, for me, he's never been an out-and-out striker, but I think he needs to play now. I think with the injuries, we could see us playing a 4-2-3-1. So I think we could end up with Henderson and Fabinho almost sitting in front of the back four, and then having like a Harvey Elliott playing or a Firmino playing in a 10. And then I think you'll play Núñez up front. And I think Firmino could be that almost like the Joe Linton type player where you bring him back slightly and play him in a midfield 3 or play him as a 10 behind a striker. And he's got the ability to find them passes into the striker. He's never been prolific. So I think Klopp got that wrong slightly, but I think he's just trying to ease Núñez in. But I think Núñez is making it pretty hard to leave him out now. So I would expect a win, and I'm hopeful for a win. But again, it's not going to be easy because Palace are a decent side. I know they didn't show it that much against you the other day, but first home game, I'm hoping Anfield's going to be rocking, and I'm hoping that we can get off and running with a win, because the last thing you want to do is give City, Tottenham, Arsenal a head start. So fingers crossed. I'll take a win now, and how it comes, I'm not fussed.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, thank you, mate, for tuning in. Just before we wrap up, I want to go through this. I don't reckon as mentioned before, they are owned by regimes that completely disregard basic anyone who support them and represent them are deplorable. Look, mate, people support they support. What goes on behind closed doors is behind closed doors. But thank you for tuning in. For me, I think it's with everyone in football. I think every team's becoming like this now. Like Man United, they've chucked money on the table. City have chucked money on the table. Newcastle chucked money on the table. Arsenal, we've just spent 300 million in 2 seasons. Money is what gets you success. So I can't slander a Newcastle or Man City and put them in that bracket. I think we're all there now.
I think also on that, every club in the Premier League is owned by a billionaire or a multi-millionaire.
That's the thing.
Regardless where the money comes from, everyone's owned by. You can't own a Premier League football club now unless you're a multi-millionaire or a billionaire. So we've all got money. It's just that some have more than others, and it's questionable as to where it comes from and how it gets there. But I'm sure if you investigated all of the owners and asked them how they made their millions, there's probably questions to be asked of all of them. And let's face it, they're all in it for money. Apart from Abramovich, who was in it for just a hobby almost. All of them are in it to make money, and they've all got money by making money, and they've all bought clubs by probably doing deals that are not 100%, without issues or things that go along with that, and the stuff that we'll probably never ever hear about. But at the end of the day, it's football, and you can't. Football and politics shouldn't mix. We're fans of football. We're not fans of owners, and we're not fans of. I don't really care who owns Liverpool as long as we're winning on the pitch. To be brightly honest, and that's the same for every club, really. So, I think fans get too caught up in this, the Saudi-backed stuff and the cities, their owners and stuff like that. At the end of the day, you're not supporting them by watching your team. You're supporting your team because that's your team and you want to see them win. So at the end of the day, it shouldn't really matter.
100%. I completely back that, to be honest. I'll be going to many games this season. I'm buzzing for Saturday to get up to the Emirates, and hopefully it'll be a great win against Leicester. And I can tell you what, as long as the owners are giving us what we want, which is money to spend, I'm quite happy. And that's what we're doing at the moment, and I don't look at anything else outside of that. I haven't got time to. I don't really care about it. As long as the players perform, the manager does his job, and we've got the funds we need. That's what it's about. But yeah, we're going to wrap up because I think we have touched on most things. Dale, it's been a pleasure, mate. Good to have you on board again. Everyone that's tuned in, make sure you smash that like button on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, come over and subscribe. But yeah, we will be back next week, and I hope that everyone has a good rest of the week. Take care, guys. See you soon.